Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Gautam's Cooking Adventures. In continuation of the episode from last week, this week we will show you another way to repurpose idli in another interesting format, and this one's called Idly Upma. Now, obviously, all of this comes from the fact that you typically are left with a bunch of idlis, after you cooked it for the breakfast or lunch or dinner with the previous day, and you have them put in your fridge waiting for it. Next day, you could always reheat them, eat them, but that gets kind of boring. Idly Upma is a great way to repurpose that dish into something very tasty. It's typically crushed into a powder form and then coated with a rich seasoning to enhance the taste and also give it a nice look that makes it interesting. We want that your family will consume more in this format than in the form of an idli, so be prepared to make more of it. Now here's a list of all the ingredients you require to make the Idly Upma. As always, you will find a copy of the ingredients list in the description below this video. Please like this channel, subscribe to it, and click on the bell icon to be notified all future episodes. Thank you. As promised last week, we're going to continue with the episode on how to repurpose idlis from a previous day. And here, today we're going to be making Idly Upma. Now, Idly Upma typically is idli that's been left over and which is then crushed and made into a bit of a powder, and then we add additional stuff like onions and other flavoring agents and make it into an edible, flavorful meal for breakfast usually. In this case, I've taken idlis that I've kept overnight in the fridge, and the reason I do that is because when the idli gets cold, it gets a little hard. And when it gets a little hard, it becomes easy to break it down into a nice powder as such. You see this? All I do is I just crush it and it comes out nicely as a powder, which normally, if it had been just the idli which was not made cold in the fridge, would have been a little more difficult to mash up as so. So I'm going to do this with all of the rest of the idlis, and I'll get back to you once we're done with that. So here you see it, we've crushed all the idlis. It's become a bit of a powder. There's small little clumps, and that's okay because it actually adds to the eating experience to have just these little small clumps, and it's okay. So just crush as much of it you can into a powder, like so, and it doesn't matter if those little clumps are there. Now let's get on with the rest of the cooking. So now that we have the idlis that have been crumbled into a bit of a powder, we're going to need the following items to start making the dish. 2 medium-sized onions that have been cut and sliced nice and thin, as you can see here. Half an inch of fresh ginger that's been sliced and diced into small, nice, fine pieces. 2 large Thai chilies or any hot chili that have been sliced. Half a lemon or lime juice, whatever you prefer. 1 sprig of curry leaf, some mustard seeds, some whole urad dal, some jeera seeds, turmeric, and chili powder. And we're now going to get started. We're going to first make the seasoning out of all of these items, and then we will add the idli into that and then complete the dish. We're going to get started taking a nice deep wok, as in this case, or any dish that is capable of handling the seasoning and also the volume of idli that's going in there, because we need it to toss around, and so you want it to be a fairly deep dish in order for us to be able to toss without spilling it over. In this large wok, I'm going to take some oil, about a tablespoon of oil, or a little more, but a table and a half spoon of oil, and let this come to a nice hot temperature. The oil is nice and hot, and to this I'm going to get started by adding, this is optional if you like to do it or not, but I like to also add some bay leaf. Just adds to the flavor. To this I'm going to add in the chilies that I cut earlier. Remember, I sliced chilies in nice thin slices. And that's about 2 chilies that have been sliced. Let this fry just a little bit. And after a few seconds, follow it up with the cut ginger. Let the ginger also fry for a few seconds, just slightly, just for it to sear, brown a little bit. What this does is it allows the flavors to go into the oil. Really what we want is that the seasoning and the oil to carry all of the flavors, so that when we mix the idli powder into it, it will evenly coat and provide that flavoring to the idli as well. Now to this, I'm going to add about 3/4 of a spoon of jeera. Follow that up with just a little bit of whole urad dal, and this is again because I like that little crunch with every bite of the upma, and allow this to brown a bit. Now this time I have the stove turned to between mid and high. Give this just a few seconds, maybe 30 seconds. The dal will start to brown. As you can see, the dal is browning a bit. This is a good time to now add about 3/4 spoon of mustard seeds. And what we're going to do is let the mustard seeds crackle. I tell you in every video of mine, it's important that the mustard seed completely crackles. Mustard can be very bitter if it's not crackled. And so by crackling it, we allow the mustard flavors to be let out into the oil, but the bitterness escapes with the crackle. As you can hear, it's crackling nicely. Now to this, I'm going to add the onions that I cut earlier. Let the onions cook nicely in this hot oil. Give it a nice stir. Let all of the little individual layers of the onion separate, so that you can have all of them imbibe the flavors of the spices that we're adding into this. We want the onions to cook a little bit, and to speed that up, we're going to add the one item that is consistent in every food: salt. I'm just adding 1/4 teaspoon of salt just to get the onions to start to sweat and cook faster. I'm going to just put a little lid on top, just so it can keep the moisture inside, and let the onions cook faster. We'll get back to you in a minute. It takes about a couple of minutes for this to cook nicely. It's been a little over a minute. I'm going to check on the onion. You can see the onion is nicely cooked. It's ready for the next addition. Now at this point in time, I'm going to reduce the stove to a medium flame. To this, I'm going to add approximately 1/2 teaspoon of turmeric powder. The turmeric powder, basically what it does, it gives it the color, but also just a little hint of turmeric which adds to the flavor as well. And to this, I'm going to add half a teaspoon of red chili. Now this is the spicy red chili kind, so you might want to add based on your individual taste of how spicy you want this to be. And now to this I'm going to add the squeezed lemon juice. Now let the lemon get absorbed by all of these ingredients. And I'm going to follow that up with the rest of the salt that I need. In this case, it's going to be approximately a teaspoon of salt. Now we can add or remove salt as we want, depending on your individual taste. My suggestion is maybe start with 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt and then go. In this case, I've taken approximately about 16 idlis. So you can adjust according to what number of idlis you have. Now this is cooked well. It's all ready now at this point in time. I'm just going to do a quick taste on the salt. I think that's perfect. So to this, I'm now adding the crushed idlis that I've previously got ready, and just give this a quick turn around and let the seasoning and the masalas mix into this. And as you can see that the idli upma is starting to come together. Now obviously you want to cook this for a couple of minutes. Wait for the idlis also, which is right now cold, to heat up nicely and reach the desired temperature that we want before we serve it. I'll get back to you in just a couple of minutes. It's been cooking for about a couple of minutes. It's heating up. At this time, I'm just going to add to this the curry leaves. We could have had this earlier also before we added the idli. We could have added the curry leaf into the seasoning mix, but it's your choice. I normally use this curry leaf at the end. I just cut the curry leaves into half and put them at the end, just so that the fresh smell of the curry the curry leaf comes through and it adds to the flavor. But you could have done this also just before adding the idli powder into it. I'm going to allow this to cook for another minute or two. The heat of the idli will make the curry leaves let out their flavors. Now a little tip here, as we are cooking this, the idli upma, and as we are allowing the heat up, sometimes people find it very interesting when you have a slight crunch. And so what I do typically is just about the time when I think everything is all mixed up and the idli has reached that level of temperature that we want, and as you can see it is steaming now. So at this point in time, what you could do is just let the underside get a little bit crunchy by just allowing it to stay on the stove as is. I'm going to increase the flame to between medium and high. Now remember, we've been cooking all of this on medium flame so far, just to allow the bottom to get a slight crisping. And so it makes it interesting in the mouth, because when you put it in, you get a little bit of a crisp and a large amount of the regular idli experience, and that makes it for a nice interesting bite. Now for all practical purposes, the idli upma is ready at this point in time. All we need to do is just garnish it with a little bit of cilantro, and you're pretty much ready to serve this at this time. I hope you enjoyed watching this. We'll give you more tips, and we'll give you more videos on how to reuse many of your leftovers as we go. Thank you for watching. As you can see, we've dished it, ready to be served. Idli Upma can actually be eaten just as is. It's perfectly flavored. It's full of the seasoning that you need to. So it's just perfect to eat just as is. But you can always have it with a nice sweet lime pickle or a spicy lime pickle or just any other kind of pickle, or even maybe a kind of a chutney which might go with it. Typically something that's a little bit on the citric side would go best.
We hope you enjoyed watching this video. Look forward to any suggestions or comments from you, and please do keep supporting us. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel, click the like button, and do press the bell icon so that you can be notified of all our future episodes. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.